of Directors to be the next secretary of our Southern California section. So at this time, I'd like to ask the membership for a vote of confidence, and all in favor, please say aye of supporting John Pulo as our next section secretary. Aye. Thank you. Congratulations, John Pulo. Another announcement to share. If you don't know, I think it's been communicated that Tom Addis will be retiring from his position as the executive director of our section at the end of the year. And with that, we went through a national search, hired PGA Executive Search to help with the search process, got a bunch of resumes, did interviews, and excited to announce with you here in front of everybody that Nikki Gash will be the next executive director and CEO of our Southern California section. So we did do a nationwide search, and like I said, we've talked to other executive directors, had executive search, resumes, and throughout the entire country, the best candidate by far and away was here in our backyard. So I think on behalf of all of us, we're super excited for you. Looking forward to having you be here. Nikki kind of started back here in junior golf, has served our section, also worked on the national level, and has come back. And for those wondering, Nikki is the third female executive director in the history of the PGA. So more congrats and kudos to Nikki. Congratulations. Mr. Addis, as we said, he will retire at the end of the year, but he will kind of stay on as a executive director emeritus. So we kind of have the best of both worlds, of Tom hanging around, Nikki stepping into the new role. So we're all very excited for that. Like I said, Nikki just absolutely was the clear choice when we went through the national search. On your table, you have a summary sheet, if you will. If you want to scan that QR code, that's going to give you the report of everything. If you are into reports, if you're into reading, everything is in here. One of the things we're trying to do with our meetings is make them kind of less meeting-y, less reporty, and more educational based. So if you want to take the time, that is all there. You can read all the reports, you can read all the information that's being talked about. Like I said, so the agenda that we have in front of you today is trying to be more educational. Things that you can leave here and leave here a little better, or walk out of here and have something that just can make you better as you go back. So as far as my time here, the President's Report, I'm trying to get away from the governance stuff. I don't know that, everything that goes on at a national level needs a 30-minute presentation here. So I want to talk to you today, take my time, and share some insights on what I believe is, what's going on with the labor force, and what does the future of golf look like, right? We've had this COVID boom. And is it going to last? Is it going to sustain? So that's what I want to spend some time here today talking about, and just trying to share what I believe and share some insights. So I'm going to start talking kind of about the gig worker and the current labor economy. If you're anywhere trying to hire people, you know it is super hard trying to hire people in any position, whatever it is. And I think there's so many little things that go on. So just a quick summary here. The younger generations, they aren't entering the workforce as what used to be. And they grew up differently. Every single kind of millennial generation Z grew up with a phone in their hand. They have no idea what it's like to use a Thomas guide. They have no idea what it's like to look at the weather and try to figure out when is the sports going to be on TV, right? We all go to Google, it works way faster. Baby boomers, right? They're leaving the workforce, we're not replacing them. Younger generation, right, is not looking for loyalty. I laugh a little bit like, Kevin Na, we all know, is going to the Saudi tour. And some people are giving him a bad rap, whether or not it's okay. But we all know we have people in our workforce that will leave for 25 cents to go down the road to somewhere else. It's just a different type of worker. And the gig economy is drastically changing everything. Uber drivers, Uber Eats. And if you think about it, I'm having the hardest time at my club finding golf course maintenance workers. And I can understand that. You think, okay, I can go become an Uber driver, work when I want to, in an air-conditioned car, listening to music, not have a boss, and work whenever I want to. That is a dramatic shift. That's something we have to think about, the number of gig workers that are continually going on. Probably saw this article about the Club Pro crisis in Golf Digest, different ways to look at it. I don't think it's just golf. I think everything in hospitality is having this. It's not just a golf thing, it's every industry. The Great Resignation, right, we're talking about all of the industries it's hit. It's not just golf, right? If you look at the next slide, right, this is the National Restaurant Association. They say, hey, the biggest challenge, staffing in 2022, it's restaurants, right? Everywhere is having a challenge trying to get people and hire people. And the next slide here talks about the industries with the highest percentage of workers quitting. It's not just golf, it's everywhere. The whole labor force is changing. And that's just, hey, what we're seeing right now. Gig workers, right? This is your gig worker, somebody who works at Uber Eats, just something where they can just go on an app type thing and find a job. And 10.3% of our workforce is full-time gig economy. 10% of that is. And these jobs didn't exist 10 years ago. And that's just, hey, what we're competing with. Part-time jobs, the amount of people that are using gig work as part-time jobs, it's pretty easy to go on your app, download Uber and say, hey, I'm going to drive Uber. We all know, hey, you used to, if you wanted a part-time job, go get a part-time server job, go work for UPS at the holidays. But the gig economy is changing everything. And in California, 3.5% of the workforce work for Uber or Lyft. It's totally different now. We have to be mindful of how this gig economy is changing everything. This just says that, hey, it's growing, the gig economy year over year. 51% occasional, 16% part-time, and 25% full-time year-over-year growth in the gig economy. That's where a lot of the workforce is going. That's a lot of what we're competing with. Some of the jobs that are available today that weren't available 5-10 years ago, social media influencer, Uber, Lyft, door driver, Instawork, YouTube video maker. That wasn't a thing 5 years ago. Podcaster, TikTok marketer, e-sports game coaches. Did you know that was a thing? If you have kids, maybe you do. But that's a thing. You have coaches that teach you how to do better at e-sports games. Online dating profile writer. You're a resume writer. Who there's an online dating profile writer, right? The world is changing. Social media managers, drone operators, scooter chasers. I didn't realize that was a thing. Scooter chasers, right? You go for the ones that you can get downtown. You park them back again. And this is a fascinating one. Millennial generation expert. But these are things, right? The workforce and the labor economy is changing. We just have to be mindful of how different it is. Lyft drivers in California, the average Lyft driver makes $25 an hour. So hey, we're posting jobs at $16, $17 an hour. Kind of recognize that, hey, if I can go work in a car, air conditioned with music, work whenever I want to, it's changing the game for everything. And at $25 an hour, they say that, hey, $6 of that, it's actually 19 is the net based on car costs. But we just have to be mindful of how much it's changing and how the gig economy is changing. So I share this information with you just to be mindful of, hey, when you're looking at jobs, so much of it is different. And the younger generation, they did everything on a phone. That's the first place they're going to go. And so we just have to recognize it's different. So what's changing so much because of this, right? The Generation Z, the millennials, they grew up with the phone in their hand. That's the first place they're going to go. And flexibility. You got to choose when you wanted to work. That's kind of what the new thing is. So be mindful of that as we're hiring. So I just say flexibility and technology are what's driving this whole thing, and gig economy worker is totally different. California unemployment, if you look at it, April's California unemployment keeps going down, 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 down. And then as you look at inflation, right, it keeps going up, 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 up. So that just means that, hey, we've got to start paying more, right? That's a bad signal when it comes to paying people. We have to pay them more, right? The inflation rate keeps going up. So competition harder than ever. Challenges, right? Gig economy, and then what's going on in inflation. That's super hard. We have to be mindful of, hey, who we're competing with. 25 bucks an hour to sit around in air conditioning. Why would you want to sit on a mower out in the hot sun all day? Next slide. I think you just have to take away this, right? You look at Generation Z, right? That's the generation after millennials. If you look at the flexibility, how important that is for them, look at the difference. Right? Generation Z says flexibility is a big deal to them, and how that compares to millennials, Generation X, and baby boomers. We have to be mindful of incorporating flexibility into our workforce and know, hey, if Uber will keep being flexible for them, the InstaWorks will keep being flexible for them, that's where they're going to go. So be mindful. This slide is about mental health and wellness. It's what a lot of them are talking about now. And I think one of the things that's so different is that, hey, a lot of us in this room, weren't taught so much about mental health and wellness. Or said, hey, we just take a day off randomly. And the new generation, it's a big deal to them. And who decides if they're not feeling well? They are. They were taught to speak up. They were taught to say, hey, I need a day off. I don't know if anybody is seeing an increase in people calling out sick. And it's just like, I'm tired. It's not a knock, it's just what it is. We just have to be mindful of that. So, this is what I say. I say maybe you're either talking about the great resignation. I think it's more the great reshuffle. People are moving and working in different places. There's different things to do. But I think there's also a trend coming. The great never applied in the first place. A lot of people aren't going to apply for jobs right now. So be mindful of, hey, what's going on, and hey, how this is being affected by the newest generation. Just some things to consider. Hey, consider some set schedules. All of us have said, hey, when we were younger, we wish we were in a system with a set schedule. Something to consider incorporating that. Guarantee 5 days of work. It's hard to do, but think about guaranteeing that somehow. 40 to 45 hours at the max. These new generations, millennials, and the Generation Z want to work. Something to think about, guaranteeing a 1 3-day weekend per month. Some of us are like, what? But it's not a bad idea just to consider in there. Focus on results, not hours. Reduce meetings and meeting times. Some of us have meetings for the sake of having meetings. Cut them out, shorten them if you can. Focus on empathy, rate, wages. Moving on to the next kind of topics, we'll talk about, hey, will the golf boom last? This is just one person's opinion. We'll talk about it a little bit. You can see, hey, rounds from Net Golf Data Tech national-wise were down. Rounds were down kind of year to date. I still remain very bullish on the future of golf. And hey, what rounds will do. And sometimes, hey, we don't talk a lot about, hey, what does the future look like? We don't always forecast very well. But I remain very bullish on golf. So even though, hey, rounds were down, we know we're up 30% from pre-COVID, but I remain bullish on it. So this is just kind of the trend for the year. You can kind of see, even though rounds are down, the majority of rounds happen right now in the summer. Right? It's where summer is. All right, we'll see where things end up. But hey, here's some other facts. While rounds are down, club sales are up. Google searches are up, golf round per revenue is up. So 3 kind of other metrics are showing good signs. Next slide, Bryce. So here's one of the reasons why I think we spent a lot of time looking at some numbers. I think there's also have to look at it from a social human behavior standpoint. I don't believe that habits change easily. I think there's probably a lot of us in this room that have said, hey, I want to eat healthier. I want to lose weight. I want to do something differently. Habits do not change easily. It takes something dramatic for a habit to change. If you thought how you got up this morning, you probably, for those that stayed here in the desert, you probably have your routine. When you brushed your teeth, how it all worked. There was a routine, there was a habit. 40% of people's choices, 40% of people's behavior are driven by habits. not necessarily by choices. So, talking about habits here, I think people have gotten into the habit of playing golf. I think that's just a realistic thing. Next slide, Bryce. So, more than 40% of actions people perform each day weren't actual decisions, but habits. And if you think about that, hey, what time you go to work, hey, where you brush your teeth, how your morning routine is, what you do for dinner, there's habits that happen. So I'm looking at this partly just from a human behavior standpoint. It takes a habit to replace a habit. And people have gotten into the habit of playing golf. People have gotten into the habit of working from home. People have gotten in the habit of not going in to the office. So this is some data from movie theaters. People went to movie theaters. COVID hit, now they don't go to movie theaters as much. People have found a new habit, right? They found Netflix. You can see. This one I think is fascinating. This is the percentage of people who prefer working from home. In 2020, it was 60%. In the beginning of this year, 76%. More people want to work from home. That's what jobs are. I know our jobs can't be done, but more people are working from home. And if you work from home, you have less time that you're on the road. You can find time to play golf a lot more easier when you're working from home. We talk about, hey, the generations, what they are different. 64% think working from home has gotten them more balanced. People are going to keep working from home. Their habits are there. They're going to keep playing golf when they say they're working from home. So I just say, hey, it takes a habit to replace a habit, and I'm bullish on golf in the future just because human behavior and how habits are. So that's just what I wanted to spend my time talking about this morning, is just saying, hey, be aware of what the gig economy has done to the workforce, and think about, hey, habits and behavior, that golf will still keep us busy. All right, we're going to jump to the Vice President's report. So, Mr. Lohman, you are back on here. So let's talk about financials and numbers and get people excited about that. Beautiful golf course, by the way. You know that place?
I haven't been there much.
Working from home?
Work-life balance. Thank you, Robin. That was really good. Appreciate that. As Vice President of the section, I get to report back on the financials of the section, the financial stability of the section. And needless to say, we've had a really good run. The section staff that you're all familiar with and aware of do an excellent job of making sure that we stay fiscally responsible and stay within the budgets that we've established at the end of the year. For those of you in the room who just aren't that familiar, there are 3 lines of business within the section. The foundation, which is obviously super important, which includes player development and our very successful junior golf program. The corporation, which is all of our tournament activity, and obviously the section, which encompasses all administrative activity. If you were to review the financials as I have, hey Coach, good to see you. As I have, you would know that they have done a very good job, and through the reporting period that we have, which is through April, we're exceeding budget in all 3 business categories, so that's excellent news for all of us. So there's nothing for you all to worry about in regards to the section of financials. The other thing that is super important is our investment fund. Obviously, for those of you who do invest, I certainly recommend that you do dabble in that. The last 6 months have been pretty rocky, and our investment portfolio is not able to avoid that. So we have taken a little bit of a hit on the investment portfolio, but needless to say, the people that support us, Canterbury out of Newport Beach, do a wonderful job of protecting us. The way the fund is created, we have 2 funds. We have a general fund and then we have a foundation fund. They're able to actively trade and support us in a way so that when the markets do see a downturn, our downturn isn't as significant as some of the measuring tools that are there. So know that we have seen a little bit of a downturn, but we're well positioned to recoup that and get back to what we were in 2021. That concludes my report. Any other questions, let me know. But if there are any questions in regards to the financials, please reach out to either myself or Tom Addis or Nikki or Jeff Johnson, the section staff, because they certainly will take the time, or I'll take the time to support you and review them with you. So thank you very much. Robin?
Thank you, Mr. Lohman. Next up on our agenda is the Secretary's report. Dr. Allison Kirk will update us on kind of what's going on with our membership.
Thank you, Robin. This QR code really is pretty cool. We're cutting down on trees, and to be able to just easily access this information is fantastic. So if you're interested in the numbers of our membership, click on that QR code and take a look. But I just want to tell you a story about how our section is looking. From last year to this year, we have increased by 31 members. And I think a big part of that is Tom's son, who has really headed up a fantastic mentorship program in our section. He is probably the king of emails, so if you haven't been communicated by him yet, rest assured you will at some point. But what's great about what Tom does is he tells the story of how associates are moving into membership. And so I think a big part of that number is really his leadership and ability to take the associates and get their education complete and their books complete and get them into elected to membership. So thank you, Tom, for leading that program. With that being said, we have 20 new associates who are in our section, so hopefully we will bring them hand in hand all the way to pass their level 3. ADM certified. We only have 261 individuals in our section who are ADM certified. We've been talking about this for a couple of years. I was honored to help film some content at the end of 2018 to put that curriculum together with Will Robbins. It's free. Jump online, spend your 2.5, 3 hours doing the ADM certified. It'll change you as a coach. It'll help you bring into modern coaching, which later on in today's presentation we're going to hear some more information about that. But ultimately it's going to make your students better. And that's what we're here to do. We're in the golf industry, help make people better. So it's helped make my students better, and it's also created long-term development plans for that 7-year-old who starts with you and ends up going to college. With that being said, we have MSR cycle that's going to be ending next Wednesday. So if you need some more MSR points, make sure you get ADM certified. The demographic of our section is still divided at 93% male, 7% female. It's one of my initiatives, and I'm honored to have our 3rd female ED, Nikki Gatch, moving into 2023, to partner together to try to build more women in leadership roles, more women in our population of PGA members, and to make our membership reflect what our communities look like, not only just from female, but also inclusion of different races. And hopefully, I think I was saying this last night at dinner, by 2050, we can have a 50-50 split with men and women. So big initiative, I think we can do that. If you are a specialized professional, would you please stand up so we can recognize your additional education specialized members? Great. If you are a certified member, would you please stand up? If you are a master professional, would you please stand up? Or stand up. We only have 18 master professionals in our section, and I think those that are certified, I encourage you to continue your education and get to the highest level of membership you can at master professional. It's very, very rewarding. In attendance, I'd like to recognize our new members and new associates. So if you're a new member or a new associate, would you please stand? Our quarter century members, do we have any quarter century members? We have one half-century member, I believe, in attendance, and I said yesterday he must have gotten his membership at the age of 2. Mr. Tom Addis in September will be a half-century member. As I mentioned before, the MSR cycle will be ending next Wednesday. So, how do you know if you need more points? Head to pga.org. It is a mobile-friendly site. So pop that in. You'll instantly see where you are in terms of your status. And there's tons of free education that you can do, partly with John Kulo and the Catalyst system. If you pop onto YouTube, you can watch tons and tons of archived Catalyst seminars and get some points easily there. And our dues. Your dues are due. If you haven't paid them yet, they are due. Just paid mine last week. Everyone got their emails, I'm assuming. Make sure you pay it. But what does that do for you? You have tons of member benefits on the website, pga.org. Looking through it this morning, I bought my tickets for Jurassic World, which opens this weekend. AMC movies, people aren't going anymore. Well, they all went to go see Top Gun Maverick. Don't pay your $24 to go sit in the recliner seats. Head to pga.org, pay your $13. There's tons of member benefits on that perk spot site. Delta, National Car Rental, save yourself a ton of money. If you're heading for any tournaments, you're taking your family on vacation, PGA has you covered with these benefits. I don't know if you're using them enough. I use them nearly weekly, and it saves me tons of money. So one of the many things that your dues covers you with is some awesome, fantastic member benefits. So I encourage you to look at that. Lastly, this year we have lost two very influential and special members. So I'd like to invite Mr. Addis to the stage for remembrance of them.
Thank you, Allison. Thank you, Mr. President. And good morning again, everybody. It's not very often that you, I'm going to use the word opportunity, have an opportunity to remember two very, very important and involved and PGA members who were critical to the growth of the PGA of America and golf. First being Mr. John Hardy. A lot of you may remember John. John passed away last year at 94 years old. He was a master professional. In fact, he was number 139. The master professionals that I know seem to be very proud of their number. John was number 139 as evidenced by his email. He was a 60-plus year PGA member here in Southern California with English base. And so we'll always remember John and what he contributed throughout not only the Southern California section, but nationally education. The next PGA professional that I'm very honored to say a few words and welcome Pat's family is Mr. Pat Riley. Pat Riley passed away just a month or so ago, and we all remember Pat as a little more than enthusiastic, a little more than a leader, because he certainly was that. Pat, I got to enjoy as, along with my father, as a mentor for me in my entire professional career. And I mean entire, because Pat guided me, and I'll be selfish here for a second, Pat guided me into PGA membership and made some changes that allowed me, I'll say it again, to become a PGA member. And I'll never forget that, as will those of you who had the opportunity to know Pat, work with Pat, will never forget his enthusiasm, his passion for not only the game and the PGA, but for us. That's what I will always remember and never forget. We're honored this morning to have Pat's family here, Sue Riley, Maggie Riley, Susie Riley, Mike Riley was going to attend and couldn't make it. And at this time, my wife Susan was one of Sue Riley's best friends. And so we've been able to enjoy the Rileys on the home front as well. So, and at this time, I'd like to introduce Pat Riley's son, the director of golf at Wilshire Country Club, Mr. Rick Riley.
Right now, Scooter Chaser, my dad, is rolling in his grave. Crazy. Well, thanks for asking me to speak here this morning. I really appreciate it. My mom, Sue, Susie, Mike couldn't be here, Maggie, are here today. Sue Riley is a strong woman behind Pat Riley. Pat set his sights on Sue 64 years ago. And the love has been a complete partnership in that time. Family, business, and friends. Sue and Pat were a package deal, and we're all there for it. Yeah, a number of you here today know all about Pat Riley, but for those who don't, I'm going to talk about a few things. He was a unique human being. Came from humble beginnings, siblings, fours, raised in Sharon, Pennsylvania. He failed third grade. His mother was a dishwasher at Sharon Country Club, and this is where he got his start in golf. Being a caddy when he was 13 years old. By the time he was 16, he was a caddy master. He was all Western Pennsylvania football and basketball at Sharon High and received a football scholarship at Penn State. But he soon realized that the sport for him was golf and became the captain of the Penn State golf team. My mom and dad eloped their senior years because he was raised Catholic. She was raised Presbyterian in those days. This is considered a mixed marriage. Upon graduation, he enlisted in the Marine Corps and was stationed at Camp Pendleton. And after 4 years in the Marine Corps, he was honorably discharged in 1961 and began his career working for Rags Ragland, Circle R Golf Course. A year later, he was named the head professional golf Camino Country Club. And in 1972, he was named the head professional Annandale, where he remained until he retired in 2002. He's a member of the SCPGA Board of Directors in the late 60s and mid-80s. He was president of SCPGA 71 to 73. He was president of PGA of America 1988 to 1990. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame, SCPGA Hall of Fame in 1993, and the PGA Hall of Fame in 2005. Played the US Open in 1954, played the PGA Championship in 1968, and 2 club professional championships, so he did have some game. Couldn't putt, but he had some game. He was a great speaker. Ironically, he stuttered as a kid, but he became I'd come to these meetings and I'd sit in the back, usually in the back. And I can't tell how many times you guys come with me because your dad just hit it out of the park. His speeches were legendary for the passion and depth. He had some pretty difficult decisions during the PGA presidency reign. The Shoal Creek incident, I'm sure you're all aware of that. He was right in the middle of that one. The Square Roots controversy. In both instances, he saw the end result. Wherever they should make these tough decisions, always for the right reason. With the kids, he always looked out for the junior golfers. I can tell countless times I walked by his office. And he was either handing out advice on golf, swing, or life lessons. There always made time for someone who needed his guidance and counseling, and Lord knows, Susie, Mike, Meg, and I had plenty of that. For the caddies, my dad was always the caddy part, and this is where he got to start when he became a golfer. He really has had a lot of respect for those caddies and taken great care of him over his career at Annandale. Since he passed, I received a lot of letters from people who wrote stories about my dad. That speak of the life lessons he instilled in them. Taking no shortcuts and doing things the right way. He always told me that to be a successful PGA member, you had to be well-rounded. You couldn't be one-dimensional. Kind of a five-tool player. You had to be a teacher, a player, a merchandiser, an administrator, a rules expert, but most importantly, you got to be a people person. That's how you succeed in this business. And those are things I've always taken with me and try to live in his right. Right is the stuff he said all the time. We heard it all the time. Early right, early wrong. It's not how good you are when you're playing good. It's how good you are when you're playing bad. Tradition is the enemy of progress. There are a lot of reasons, but no excuses. There's a right way, the wrong way, and the right way. It's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice. As the thought goes, you can't really summarize a man's life in a few minutes, but each of you knew my dad in a big way or small way. Our presence here today honors his legacy, his words, my ways, Karen. I'm going to carry my dad in my heart the rest of my life. He's not here, but he's in my heart. He's in your heart as well. Love him. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick, and thank you, Riley family. One more announcement before I sit down, and that's thanks to the Riley family. We will have in the section an event, a new event named after Pat Riley. It will be a pro-am. Looks like at this time it will be at Annandale, and so look for that event. Look for supporting that event as we all will. And again, thank you very much to the entire Riley family. Thank you.
Wow. Incredibly well said. You know, I don't know if you caught it, but one thing that I learned yesterday that I did not know was Pat Riley was president of the PGA in the whole Shoal Creek membership controversy. And Pat was the one who pulled the plug. Talk about a man of moral character. So thank you for sharing those words. Mr. McNair. Good luck following that. John McNair is our District 11 Director. He represents Southern California section, Northern California section, the Aloha section at the national level, and he's going to share some information, just kind of what's going on in the industry. So, John?
Thank you, Robin. Yeah, when Tom this morning told me I was be following that, I was in trouble. So, good morning, everybody. I'm going to talk about a couple things today. The first thing is the PGA regional model, which is a new model that's coming out later this fall. This model was developed to add additional support to career services, player development, recruitment, and section operations. The goal is to have more of a local grassroots approach to helping our sections and to create greater collaboration. Because right now how it works is, to take player development, for example, Junko, she really works in a silo. She works for someone in Florida, opposed to someone regionally here in the West Coast. So the model is to take the current teams that we have and align them in 7 defined regions, which are up here. We're going to be in the far right side on this model, in the West model. We're going to be with our District 11, which is Southern Cal, Northern Cal, Aloha, and District 14, which includes the Southwest section, which Don Ray's a member of, as well as the Pacific Northwest. The goal is to expand it over time, as you can see down in those lower boxes, to add accounting and finance, sales and business development, legal, and then HR. And I'm excited about the HR part, particularly with our lovely state of California, Mr. Kessler, that to try and make sure that our sections follow the right rules and do that moving forward. The board and the PGA is committed to this. We've already earmarked another $1 million for next year in 2023 to put towards this, to continue to grow this program. So please look for this to be launched in the fall. Be very excited. I think it'll also add more interaction between all the members and the team, field team that we currently have. So that's our new model. Please keep an eye out for that moving forward. Go to the next slide, please. So Robin asked me to make this more, no reports, more informational. So he asked about bring up about what's the changes and trends in our business. And I've done this before, probably 4 or 5 other times. Scott and I have talked about it before COVID, and always I had to give a doom and gloom presentation. But I'm proud to say that things have definitely changed since COVID. So let's start with this slide here. This talks about rounds, and as you can see here, we did 518 million rounds in the U.S. last year, which is a growth of 25 million rounds. Since 2000 to 2021, the first 18 years, we lost 91 million rounds. But the really cool thing is, we made all 91 million rounds up in the last 3 years. So we're back to the days we were in 2000. Next slide, please. This talks about golfers and the changing golfers. Alison talking about having more of a female presence. This is a great slide to represent that. The 3 circles are the highlighted ones. You can see that female golfers grew by 6.5%, which is more than double that of male golfers in the last year. Also, higher incomes grew by 5.4%, which is more than double lesser incomes. But the big one that drove the bus was seniors 65 and older, grew by 17.4%. So what this tells us is, it's a great thing, but as Robin says, to maintain this, we're gonna have to make sure that we backfill those boomers, because as the boomers go away, we gotta make sure that we've got new golfers coming in, we're backfilling the ages 55 to 64 in particular, to make sure we can drive them and keep them in the golf business, and playing golf. Next slide, this talks about the golf course supply chain. So this is tracked by Palouse as well. And what this is, the net number of new golf courses were built minus the golf courses that were shut down. So last year, the US lost 72 golf courses. Interesting part, 15 straight years in a row, there's been a net loss of golf courses. And over the last 20 years or so, we've had lost 11% of the golf courses in the US, so since 2000. So it's kind of interesting, it's the trend. It's sad to see the golf courses go away, but it does, when we lose golf courses, it makes our properties more profitable. This is a stat that talks about what's happened to golf since COVID broke and everybody went back to playing golf again. So it's a 2-year analysis. The really neat thing is you look at golf revenue. Golf revenue is up in 2 years by almost 29%. Golf rounds are up by 21%. And tee sheet utilization is up by 9.6%. So almost 10% more golfers are playing on your golf courses and teeing it up at your properties. So this is very encouraging. Again, if we can keep this trend or even maintain this, we're going to be in a good place. Bryce, want to skip this slide. Next one. So this is a power email address. This is something that they put together that I thought was very interesting, some stats. On what can we do to make sure that we continue to keep this trend going and grow the game? A couple of these stood out to me. Number one, that new customers spend double the spending of lost customers in 20. So if you got a new customer, you had their email address, you're going to get twice as much money from that person playing golf. The other stat was that retained customer spending for those with email addresses was 50% higher than your average customer. So what that tells us is, if you can get their email address for a new customer and you engage them, keep engaging them in the marketplace, they're going to spend 50% more than someone you do not have an email address of. So what that tells me is capture as much data as you can and keep engaging them over and over again, and of course we'll be successful as well as our game. So I think those are the keys to success for that. So that concludes that part of the report. But one thing I'm going to just mention is I'm going to talk about Pat for 1 minute here. The last time I saw Pat was at our annual meeting last December, and he wanted to pull me aside. There was a topic about Valhalla that he knew about, and pulled me aside. We started talking about it, and he's 87 years old. He's telling me we're debating different opinion on which way to go. He's really smacking me in the chest, like, we got to do this. His passion was just contagious, and I loved him very much. He's a great mentor, and I want to thank Sue and the Bradley family for sharing it with us, because of him, our association and our membership is always going to be better for it. So thank you very much.
All right, next up we're going to have Mr. Addis coming back to share some information. So Mr. Addis, you are back up here. One more time.
Hello again. This will be short, at least on my part. I'd like to call your attention to a couple of things. First of all, along with Jeff and Nikki, we have quite a few of our team members here today, and would like to thank everyone here. You all are out there, you know who you are, and thanks for being here. Thanks for helping today and helping all of you. So we appreciate everything that the entire Southern California PGA team does. So thanks, everybody. You know, one of the things I get to do, and because of my technological expertise, I get to remind everybody once again, following Allison, to use the QR code. Can I use it? No. Actually, I do have it on my phone. But if you do, inside the icon is our report, our staff report that we submit to the board pretty much on a monthly basis. I encourage you to take a look at that report. There's a lot of information that pertains to our strategic plan and the initiatives that we work through as your team. So I encourage you, when you have the time, to please take a look at the overall report that's within not only the agenda and others. You'll see a lot of the board information inside that report, and I encourage you to do so. Before we go too much farther, also, a gentleman who typically is at these meetings, and we're going to miss him during the open forum, I just want to say thanks to Joe Broman for all he did for our section. He's moved to Florida, I think, as most of you know. But we'll miss Joe at the meetings, whether it be the annual meeting, whether it be this meeting or others. He's always standing up and asking for assistance with, whether it be Wounded Warriors or whatever, PGA Hope or whatever it might be. And before I turn it over to Nikki, I'd like to tell one more Riley story that I really think is, I hope you don't mind. This one, Pat and I used to travel quite a bit together, both when I was on the board prior to being elected to an officer position. And every now and then, I guess it was my luck, they'd say that Pat and I would sit together on an airplane. And of course, Pat, you all know Pat, and as John alluded to, how intense Pat was and how purposeful Pat was. Well, he was the same way on an airplane. And if you had the opportunity to sit next to Pat, if Pat got started on something, the people in front were wide open. Pat would to make his point, just like John mentioned, he'd tap you in the chest or pat you on the shoulder or whatever Pat would do to keep your attention. He would bang on the back of the seat as he was trying to make a point to me. And this happened, I probably rode with him maybe a half a dozen times. And as this would happen, the people would actually get up, turn around, and ask him to stop or ask to be moved. And he would do the same thing on the back of the seat, or he'd turn down his food tray, and he'd beat on the food tray, the same thing. And it got to the point, gee, do I want to sit next to him? But out of sacrifice, I didn't think anybody else would want to, so I was left. But anyway, those are some of the things that if you were around Pat, you might recall and will treasure forever. That's for darn sure. So now it's my pleasure, and you heard earlier today, as of January 1st or 2nd or whenever we go back to the office from the holiday, Nikki Gatch will be your new CEO and Executive Director. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Ms. Nikki Gatch.
You can say RQ code. Yeah. Thank you, and I'm incredibly excited and honored for what's going to happen here in about 6 months. Well, 5 months and 28 days. Okay. Thank you all very much. I know Tom thanked the staff. I just want to thank you all again. Bryce, Steve, Jeff, Anthony, Amberlynn, Max, Travis, and Matt Rogers. You guys are amazing. We have lots of other staff back at home handling the office, but please rest assured that you have an incredible staff that is dedicated and passionate about what they do every day in serving you and serving our game. So thank you guys very much. I'd like to recognize just a couple of staff members. We've had some staffing changes. I'd like to recognize Anthony Leone. Anthony, stand up. Anthony is our Player Development Director. He's been elevated to Foundation Director, overseeing the Foundation and Player Development. I know he's going to do a wonderful job. Those of you that have worked with Anthony know how passionate he is about what he does, so congrats, Anthony. Amberlynn Dorsey is in the room. She could be out helping set up for the tournament. But Amberlynn Dorsey has been on our staff for about 5 or 6 years in junior golf. Amber started her PGA membership with us. She's now specialized in 2 areas. She's a PGA member. She'll have her MBA in a couple of months. We're thrilled to have her on the team. She'll be transitioning to a new role of manager of partner and section relations. So another big congrats to Amberlynn. Thank you for all of you. walked in, we were fortunate to have so many of our partners here today. We've been very fortunate this year to bring on a lot of new partners and retain a lot of our partners that have been with us for many, many years. So I'd just like to thank all of you. If our partners do call on you, and they will, please take a phone call, have a meeting. We certainly know that every product won't fit in your shop or at your facility, but if you could please show them the courtesy of returning a phone call or returning an email, it really does make a difference, because everything that we do is because of our partners and the financial support they lend the section. So I'd like to recognize the partners that are here today for our summer meeting. From Club Car, Kevin Palmer, Tyler Nittlich, and Randy Passenger. Thank you all for being here. All 18 of our new partners, David Posnick and Johnny Heno. Also a new partner, Blue Tees, Chris Hughes. Blue Tees will be out on a par 3, I believe, number 17. Closest to the hole, whoever gets that will get a Blue Tees rangefinder, so hit it well on 17. From Maui Gym, Kelly Miller. Also, play well. Top 12 teams today will each receive a pair of Maui Gym sunglasses. Very nice. Brandon Bills, a new partner. Brendan Rice is here. I hope you all grab your really cool looking hat. Therabody, they're a new partner as well. Todd Howerton, a lot of you know Todd. He's been a sales rep for a long time. Top 3 teams today will each receive a mini massage gun from Therabody. And 7 Diamonds, a new partner of ours, Chris Long, is here. Top 3 teams will each receive a shirt from 7 Diamonds. So we have great support from our partners. I appreciate you all showing them support. Have a wonderful time today. Thank you.
As has been mentioned, the QR codes are on your tables. If you need help, Tom will give an exhibition about how to find the QR codes. You may be there a while, I think. But reports, chapter reports, committee reports are in your packets of information if you want to look at them. As we talked about, kind of starting off today, we're trying to make this meetings a little bit less meeting-y, a little bit less reporting, and more educational stuff, more stuff that, hey, you can walk out of the room a little bit better, you can walk out a little more educated, and have some things that you can take back and use at your club. So we're going to spend some time here. We've got a couple different presentations that are going to happen over the next hour or so with different speakers. But the first one, we're going to welcome up President Richardson and Secretary Ray for a conversation just kind of about work-life balance. If you would come up to the stage, and Mr. Lohman will continue to use his incredible oratory skills and moderate here. Somebody laughed at Lohman's oratory skills? Is that what that was? Oh, come on.
Enough mics for everyone? You all can do whatever you want. All right, we're here to talk a little bit about work-life balance, and then maybe we'll get into the deferred compensation at some point. But maybe, in regards to work-life balance, what does that mean to you all? What is work-life balance? What does it mean?
Great opening question. I think it's love what you do where you work and love what you do outside of work. So I think it's just taking those 2 things and being able to enjoy and appreciate both of them.
I think I posted something the other day on social media that I think you could have a little more life than you work. I think we've all been beat up over the last 2 years, and so it's hard, to get up. And we're thankful. Look at Arizona; it's actually slowing down a little bit. Thank goodness, because for 2 years we were running a really tough race. I would say I was the biggest offender of the work-life balance at Augusta Ranch, and I think I led by example, unfortunately, with the staff of Augusta Ranch, because I wanted to be there. I like being there. So I had to reevaluate my own self, with what's my value, not in money, but what's my value to my family. Katie wants to spend time with her dad. Karen wants to spend time with her husband. And so I really made a conscious effort in the work-life balance of what it means. It's literally not how I define work-life balance, because I'm drinking Kool-Aid. I've already got the problem that I love what I do. So I don't even know. So for me to evaluate it, I have to have an honest conversation with my daughter and say, how am I doing with work-life balance? And I would challenge you guys to do that. Because somebody who's special in your life can be a buddy who says, dude, you work all the time, we used to play golf. Yeah, sorry, man, it's busy. But don't define your own work-life balance by yourself. Ask the people around you if you're balancing work and life. You might be surprised by that. So that's what I've tried to do. And I'm not doing a very good job of it because I love what I do. But that doesn't make it any less important. It's challenging. It's hard when you love it. But for those people who work at Augusta Ranch, even an outside service, they're watching me all the time. And am I really proving anything to them if I'm the first one there and the last one to leave? Because some of them don't want to leave before me because it used to be you never left before the boss. And so if I don't leave, they never leave. So I challenge you to challenge yourself to put a little more life into your work and ask your family, not yourself, if you're actually doing a good job.
Yeah, obviously this is a huge topic and it's been discussed, I think, in our industry and hospitality, some of the presentations you had earlier, but I have a very hard time answering it because I don't believe there is such a thing as work-life balance. Because I don't know how you can spend too much time with your family. I don't understand how you can spend too much time with your loved ones or your friends. I don't think there's a possibility that any of us in the room can handle every single thing at work all the time. So I don't really even know if there is a work-life balance, but I think there is a work-life that you need to work out whatever setup works for you to give you the quality of the type of life that you're looking for. So to me, I always look at it as work-life quality, that work-life balance quality that you can try to set up.
Right.
I know, kind of being part of that old guard in the industry, I always look to others as the example, looked up to what they were doing, and quite frankly, tried to emulate it. And Don talked on that is now it's different. We all know that when you're interviewing a young man or woman that's trying to get into this business or for a position, you know, how often do you actually talk to them about what they're looking for in the job? No one ever asked me that question, ever. It was, this is when you're going to come to work. This is the expectation. Here's how many hours you're going to work. Here's what you need to do. Go learn how to open and close procedures, all those types of things that happen. I don't know if I ever had an interview where somebody asked me, what are you looking for in this job? And what do you want to get out of it? That's the question we're asking every single person that comes in for any position that we have now, because that's what they're looking for. So times have changed, we need to change. I'm an old war horse that has a hard time doing that sometimes, because I emulated people that I looked up to my whole career that were the people that worked 100 hours a week and were the first ones there and last ones to leave. They were the ones that handled everything and did everything at the facility. So we've got to modify if we're going to change. So we've got to be the catalyst of all that. And all the men and women in this room have to be the catalyst for that. And it's really, really easy to stand up here or anywhere and say it. It's really, really difficult to change and do it. But I think Robin touched on it earlier. If we don't change the industry, we're going to have a really hard time being successful as an industry, because those industries that change quicker and can modify quicker and can think about it in a different direction quicker are the ones that are actually going to be successful. We're seeing that. Companies that pop up on a daily basis, and people that are different offerings to their employees or to associates, and different type of compensation. Nowadays, it's not necessarily always about just monetary money. Compensation can be in time. Compensation can be in your schedule. Compensation can be in how many days of vacation you get to have. Compensation can be in parts of the business that they want to be involved with, and other parts that they don't want to necessarily be involved with. And it's just a different way of looking and thinking of it. And this is really coming from those that we're trying to recruit and those that we're trying to do in the business now. So I encourage you to just look outside the box and think about your own businesses and your own operations in a different way, because I really do believe if you don't, you're going to really, really struggle moving forward. You're just going to have to look at it in a different way. It may be different at one facility versus another, a teaching academy versus an operator, somebody that owns their own business versus works for someone else. I don't know what is the secret sauce for you individually, but I highly encourage you to start looking outside the box if you're not already, and go to as many people that you can to get ideas. Because it's ever changing, and what we're dealing with now, we're going to deal with a different crisis in 6 months, a different crisis 6 months after that, and 6 months after that. So it's ever evolving and ever changing. I just recommend everybody to look outside the box as much as you can moving forward to be successful.
you all three manage your own properties, and how much does work-life balance play into your efforts now to recruit and retain? How has that changed your approach to both of those topics for your staff?
Also, it's huge, right? We have very traditional, Riviera is a very traditional club, which everybody in this room knows. Very traditional in our operations, so it's not trying to look at that in a different way of how can we modify and change to make it work. Like everybody in here, we're trying to hire and recruit in every department that we have. We're short staff in almost every department that we have, so how are we looking at it differently? You all are running into the same things. We get people that we interview on the phone, come in, set a schedule, and they ghost you and show up for the interview. So, how are you going to resolve that problem, that equation? So we've tried to start going into some other ways than just a traditional contact. And so we've gone a lot in our facility through the word of mouth, current employees, really up the compensation, the referrals that we're giving those individuals, now letting them make a choice. You want a cash value if you bring somebody in as a new employee? You want additional days off? You want some type of certificate for these different businesses and entertainment that we have? Allow the employee to pick what they want as far as part of that compensation. So we're doing a lot more as far as recognition to our current staff. Because to us, we're looking at it's not only about trying to get and fill those positions that we have open, but we need to make sure we're retaining the good employees we have. If we lose another handful of employees from our facility, we literally are going to have to start looking at modifying hours. The restaurant may not be able to be open the same amount of time it was 2 months ago. The golf shop may need to modify its hours and operations. We may not be able to give lessons on certain days of the week. So we need to make sure we're retaining the group that we have, as well as we try to find employees as well.
Yeah, I think, for me, I first and foremost trying to set the culture at Augusta Ranch, right? That, hey, sometimes I have to, fake it till I make it, but showing up and just knowing, man, this is a great opportunity we have today. And that might sound kind of corny, but I think it's imperative that when you show up to work, that you're the coach. And if you come in going, yeah, we're going to lose another game today, you're never going to win the game. And so you're going to have to set that culture right away, set the tone every day when you walk in. And if you kind of give yourself a little pep talk in the car, then do it. But don't get out of that car until you're ready to be a superstar to everybody at your facility. Let them know that, hey, we've got a good opportunity today. So first and foremost, no one's going to work at your place, in my opinion, unless they see that it's a fun place to work. And once you have that, then that'll kind of do a little recruiting on your own. I think the other thing at Augusta Ranch is trying to recognize certainly the victories that we have. The veterans that we teach on Wednesday, man, you've seen how his life has changed. How the look on his face is different. You see how timid when you came in the golf shop. Now he's bringing his buddies. And just making sure that we all recognize the lives that we change every day, because we change lives every day, but we kind of forget about it because pretty soon this becomes another transaction, another round of golf, which we're doing more than we ever have. And we almost forget the people that are playing because we're so wrapped up in just trying to golf carts once. The second one, I really think, Matt, you and I were talking about, it's before, hey, you do 100% of your lessons. All right, so when do I do that? Once I'm done with my 80 hours of working, and then I can actually do some lessons to make some ancillary revenue. I think those days are over. I think salaries need to go away, in my opinion. With everybody at Augusta Ranch, we take an office salary and we put on hourly. I said, you're going to work overtime, you're going to get time and a half. And if you're going to give lessons, I want you teaching them on the clock, but they can't be independent. It's we're going to hear that presentation a little bit later, or individual, I mean. You're going to hear that presentation where we have to do groups, because making $1 a minute, or $3 a minute, or even $4 or $5 a minute, it's still time that you're selling. And we have to sell results. We have to sell the results to the people who we're giving lessons to. So all the golf professionals at Augusta Ranch, I'm like 25 to 33% of your time has to be outside of the shop. A doctor would never serve as their own receptionist, yet we're our own receptionists at the facilities. We got to get outside of the golf shop counter, and I'm in the first tee checking in people, walking up and down the range picking up baskets, and at least force our golf professionals, if you're a guy writing a schedule or a gal writing a schedule, that they're spending at least a quarter to a third of their time outside of the golf shop learning what it looks like to be a golf professional again. And I think we'll be just fine if they're teaching clinics. And maybe I do take a percentage of that. Maybe I'm a business guy and I'm like, well, I got to cover that. I don't think you do, because we're all doing pretty good, right, Emo? But I think if you do have to cover it, if a golf professional, Blake, in your deal, if you're kicking a little bit back to the golf course, to cover the person who's under 20 or over 70 working the counter, because they want to get free golf. They don't mind. It's not a career for them yet. They just want to have a job. Okay, you can have a job working. But my golf professionals are gonna be golf professionals. Well, you know what, they train us pretty good. If we were gonna get a raise, we had to go in the back and do an Excel spreadsheet. Want to make a lot of money in this business, Tom, you gotta be a general manager, heck, you might have to own your own golf course. Well, that's not true, because that takes the people who are really good at people, like we just talked about, of being a people person. And now we're in the back room and we're pencil pushing. We gotta get out of the pencil pushing, we gotta get back into the people business. And that's what's gonna create loyalty to facility, that's what's gonna create sustainability. If there is a curve, I don't think we're dropping down, but we're already turning a little bit. But we're the ones who build the relationship so that someone says, well, I'm not leaving here because Coach Don's here. And there's no way I'm taking my kids from Coach Don. We get back to that. And then to be honest with you about your dad, I mean, being at that funeral, I met a lot of juniors that took lessons from him, and they were there. And I looked at that room and I said, man, this is a recruitment tool. This guy was a great man, there's no doubt about it. He was a great PGA professional. And his members were there. His fellow PGA professionals, his past presidents were there, his fellow PGA professionals were there. I'm like, man, you talk about a life worth living. He affected everybody in that room. That's a recruitment video. Because they showed up. It was packed. It was awesome. I think you tell a young man or woman, or I tell my daughter, kid, you want to change the world, you can just be a golf professional at a little old Augusta range. Because you're going to raise a boatload of money, you're going to save the lives of the PGA boat people, and Family Cup's going to put the families off the cart path and on the course. So think about those things that you can do. And I know it's a tough conversation with your owners and operators, but let them understand that we're not an expense. We're a cost of goods sold. We're a cost of goods sold. You put money into me, I'm going to get you Keystone. I'm going to get you 10 times Keystone. So stop saying how much does a PGA Pro cost. How about how much does it cost you not to have? And when you put me in the shop, I can't make you money. I'm just counting. Put me on the course, and I create revenue for you. I create profit for you. I think that's what we have to beat the drum with and tell everybody.
I don't know about you, but I would play on your team. But the passion, I mean, how you speak and the engagement, I'm assuming that I'm not working in the guest range, but your engagement is important. You engage the staff, you engage the customers, you personalize it, you invest, and then investment pays itself. So, Ron?
So I think your question was, how do you create work-life balance and retain staff at your club? So I would tell you the things that I try to focus on is number one, I try to make what's important to my staff important to me. So if one of our staff has their kids have soccer practice on Tuesday, I need to kick them out the door on Tuesday. Right? I need to know what's important to them, make it important to me, so I prioritize that. Two, I would tell you, hey, we also make sure that at the beginning of the year, everybody puts their vacations on the calendar. It goes on the calendar at the beginning of the year, so that way they take it. It's so easy when it gets busy to, hey, not go and have intentions of going. And I tell people, I don't care if you're watching Judge Judy and bonbons at home, you need to take that week off that's on the calendar. So I think that's important. And then third thing is try to educate our staff. And one thing we talk about a lot lately is, say, the ABCs. You need to have an accountability partner that helps you go home to take your vacation. You need to have somebody that you can go to and say, hey, Don, I need you to help me be accountable, to make sure that I leave, to make sure I get to soccer practice, to make sure I take my vacation. B, you have to set boundaries and know that, hey, I'm not going to stay late on Tuesday night. Or, hey, I'm not going to be there 6 days a week. And you set those boundaries and see, you make choices. You make those choices ahead of time. And say, hey, I will not be here for Tuesday night. Tuesday night's a quiet night at the club. Hey, I'm going to sleep in on Fridays. But you have to have an accountability partner, set some boundaries, and make choices ahead of time. Otherwise, you'll get sucked into being super, super busy.
Thank you. Obviously the PGA is embracing this concept as well. I know there's some new programs that they're offering, and there's been a lot of discussions in the boardroom about how to tackle this topic. Can you shed any light on some of those ideas that have come through? I know one of which was Will Robbins' coaching platform and how that might make a positive impact.
Yes, I mean, we've seen what it's doing, right? People are working less and making more money, so why couldn't that be something the PGA puts a little horsepower behind? And that's what we've done. I mean, your section is going to be one of the few that's going to have an opportunity. 12 people in this section, 12 people. Blake and I, I'm not going to steal any of your thunder, but I'm telling you, when you listen to him, you got to listen. because we just believe, man, I guess I have to say it's just Warren Bach. I don't know if anybody knows Warren Bach. He's out in Florida. He teaches Brooks County, right? This man is the most successful teacher that you'd ever want to be if you're a golf professional. But he was burnt out. I mean, literally, he went to Will and said, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And Will did tell him, hey, why don't you start doing game sessions? Why don't you doing practice sessions? And all the things Blake's going to talk about. And Warren's now the happiest guy. We saw him at Mickey Powell's Celebration of Life. That's when we were there. And we saw him. He was the happiest guy. Just came back from the wedding, came back from vacation. He's like, I'm making more money. I'm working less. Who knew? Because we sell time. And time, turns out, according to your chart, is the most important thing that we got. Is that people want flexibility now. Yet we're selling by the minute instead of by the result. So we're certainly doing that. I think investing in the Eds of the world, and Jake and Caleb. I mean, that's what we're doing, right? We have 21 of these career consultants, right? We have 4 recruitment specialists. I mean, I don't want to steal your thunder either, but it just gets me fired up that you are, I know, well, I'm going to piggyback, but I have to say this. The compensation survey, your numbers are not good in this section, right, Ed? They could be better. And they're bad. But I was telling Jim this, Jim moved from Arizona out here and to sell his house. The first thing you do that your real estate person does is get comps. Got to find out what the houses are going for in your neighborhood. And you're looking for the highest possible amount. Ed's looking for the highest possible compensation package. But if he has no comps to go around the room to the owners and operators and say, did you know you're underpaying your pro? Do you like him? Because he's about to leave. She's about to leave because she's underpaid with everybody in the area. So you better buck up. And they bucked up to the tune of $5.8 million in the last year. So you're doing a great job with PJ's investing in that because we found out videos are great. But Ed or Caleb standing in front of you saying we can do better, or being at the first tee at an LPGA event, Caleb, and recruiting, those are real life interactions. And I think these new young golfers, new potential golf industry people, they want to see interactions, personal interactions. And we just can't do that with video. Ed's got to be out there. Caleb's got to be out there.
So in the spirit of conversations I used to have with Mr. Riley, making sure that you're accurate in what you say, it was 5.7 million. And it's great to hear. It's great to hear about the record for Nikki as well too. Nikki happens to be the 5th female ever to be executive director, and would be the 4th current one we have on the left business. So making a little bit of progress, but not enough. But in the spirit of conversation I would have with Mr. Riley, making sure that you're accurate and make sure that you know what your facts are when you're saying so. And the other thing I would say, my conversations with Pat. The thing that really I will always take with me and remember as a leader, as a person, is oftentimes people will tell you what they did. They'll explain how they handled the situation. My conversations with Pat, he always talked about what the PGA should do. It was never even, Jim, here's what you should do as president. It was always about, this is what the PGA should do. He always was forward thinking. He always thinking about the member. We lost a great man and probably the biggest advocate for PGA members I've ever met in my life. Don said it, really, but I mean, we're trying to do things to that from what we've heard. I said this in the board meeting yesterday. A lot of times I'll go to section meetings and PGA members will ask, hey, what's your agenda? What do you want to accomplish as president? I answer it the same way all the time. I don't have one. I hope I never do. Because I don't think our association should ever be about one person or a handful of people making decisions. It should be listening to PGA members. What's important to you? What should we be trying to accomplish? I think work-life balance is one of them. We've been trying to work on this for the last couple of years. That's the reason why we've expanded from 3 to 7 to 13 and now 21 career consultants. If you have not spoken to career consultants, I highly encourage you to do that. Because in every case that they've worked with a PGA member, either on the current job that they have or a new job that they were successful in getting, or talking to the owners and operators, they have increased those compensation of salaries. They can go in and help you convince your owner, your board, that the way you used to do business isn't just, it's not working anymore. That you've got to start thinking about things differently, and they're highly successful in doing that. So if you haven't worked with Ed or Caleb, I highly recommend that you work with career consultants because they will make a difference, they will help. And maybe it's not you, but somebody on your staff. You have a man or woman on your staff that's looking to progress on the job that they're in and how you can keep them with more compensation. Have them work with your career consultant. So if you're really happy with where you're at, you love your job, you're the compensation, you don't want to go to the board, have the people that work for you work with them as well too, because it will make a difference. But it's just those things, it's trying to listen to PGA members of here, there's a big issue, this is what we're dealing with, how can my association help me? And we're trying to do that. So we're all ears. You got a great representative in John McNair, District 11 Director. I can tell you in that boardroom, there's certain people that speak their mind, and there's certain people that will fight until they can't fight anymore. John is a fighter, and he fights for all of you on a daily basis. On all those board meetings, all those calls, and everything else. So John, just awesome job, because John never talks about what he thinks the PGA should do. It's, hey, here's what the members in our section are saying, here's what the district's saying, and this is what we try to solve this problem, because it's a crisis. Right now, we know some of the issues that we're dealing with, so we're trying to address them with our consultants. We hired 4 specific recruiters, try to work with the universities, work with junior programs, work with sections around the country to try to get new people into the business. We know anything we do, we're not going to solve this overnight. We're going to have to stay after it on a day-to-day basis, week to week, month to month, on, because this is something we're all going to be dealing with. So really, it's just trying to look at the situation, what we're dealing with, listen to PGA members, and then try to come up with a way to address those issues.
I mean, as an industry, it's like we're redefining the culture in the last 5 or 6 years. We certainly talked about it and made efforts to do that. And then COVID hits, and then we're busier than we've ever been. And then at the same time COVID hits, everyone ends up the unemployment rates are going down, the demand for work is going up, and so now we have this shortfall of opportunity and endless supply of people for jobs, but a very short supply of people to apply for those jobs. So it's like a change in the culture, have a positive culture. Obviously recruit, try to get some people in there, train them to buy into your culture, and then work really, really hard to retain them and help push them forward in a positive manner. Talk a little bit about, if you don't want to segue just a hair, to deferred compensation, because obviously one of the things that matters in our industry is not only good work-life balance, but the more money we make, probably the more balance we can find. So talk a little bit about that, when we started and where we are today and where we'll be in the future.
Yeah, hopefully everybody in the room is aware of this, but we announced at the annual meeting last fall that we've got approval to move forward with a deferred compensation program. So if you're not aware, probably one of the best ones in the industry, the best ones in local sports is the PGA Tour. It's based on making cuts. You make a cut, you get some amount of money that goes into deferred compensation. You play enough cuts, make enough cuts, you play long enough, you get a really, really good retirement in deferred compensation. PGA of America has looked into it over the years, and we're always told by IRS we couldn't have one for different reasons, based on the type of job and association that we are. So we actually really worked with the tour and their lawyers and people that helped them, and came up with a way to present it a little bit differently finally to the IRS. That they said, you know what, yeah, this could work. So essentially it's taking that same type of model, but it's basically developing growth of the game type programs that PGA members could do, but then would qualify kind of for points. Get those points, then you can have and tap into the deferred compensation. Now we have to do it. It's not like a regular retirement program or 401k type of program where you put money in and PGA matches it. We can't do that. But it's deferred comp based on things that you would do performance-based. So IRS rules that we can't compensate you in that way for retirement on what they deem to be your basic job duties, which is working golf operations, working in the business, and trying to grow the game of golf. It's specific to growth of the game initiatives, things like if you host a PGA Hope program, if you host a PGA Junior League team, things like that. So those types of things you could qualify then for, that you would get revenue from this deferred compensation program. And how it basically works is we would have to determine a certain amount that you put in each year. So up front, start of the year, you have to tell the IRS, here's how much is going to be in the program for everybody that might qualify for it. PGA members then would have a list of things that they could do, and what we're trying to do is develop that list that the IRS will approve. So many things, and somebody is what we hear all the time, regular golf operator, or green grass operator, or traditional head golf professional type position. Then a list of things that you could do to qualify as a teacher and coach. And then a list of things you might be able to do if it's more kind of executive management. You might be a general manager, work for a golf company, things of that nature, different natures. These kind of 3 buckets. Then we have to get the IRS to approve that, right? These several things to be approved. We're working through that process now. And you actually have to have a third-party group that administers it. You can't administer yourself, you have to have somebody in the financial role that does that. So there's still some moving parts to it. But the great news is, for the first time in decades, we've been able to get the IRS to approve that we could actually put together a deferred compensation program that PGA members can take advantage of. The second part of that is, at my age, it's really not going to benefit me that much, right? Because hopefully I'm not working too much longer. But somebody getting into the business, you're trying to recruit somebody to their 20s and 30s looking for that, right? Like anything else, right? Put into it, compound interest of it. Over time, it can be worth, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, maybe more, depending on how many of these programs that you get involved with and how long you're in the program. So it's going to be a great recruiting tool for individuals who've never been able to have a retirement program like this before. For compensation, I think is a real game changer, especially when you start talking about recruitment. It's also, as Don talked about, a lot of these things are going to force that individual to get out of the golf shop. In order to do these things, you're going to have to be teaching, coaching, involved in some of these programs. So you're going to be out there with your clients, with your members, with your community, developing that, truly growing the game in that way. So still have details to work through, but we've got the approval. We're working through with the IRS on the programs that they would approve and say that it works. And then we got to get an administrator to put it all in place. So our goal as a board was to try to get all that accomplished and be able to announce really the details of it at this year's annual meeting, which is the first week of November. If not, some of you have dealt with government before. We're not quite sure that we're going to hit that mark, but we think that sometime between the annual meeting in November, maybe the PGA Merchandise Show in January, we'll be able to roll out a lot of details of this program, and then hopefully put it in place where shortly thereafter, 6 to 12 months, it will actually start.
Excellent. Any closing thoughts on work-life balance, gentlemen?
I'll go with it. I'll let the two presidents go. Last thoughts about the work-life balance. I was talking to you, I've never worked at a private club. I was at Eagle Mountain, it was a high-end public facility, and then I guess the ranch, and I did Part 61 in East Mesa. But someone told me the other day when they were in charge of member services, the best membership drive you can do is with the current members. Members get other members. That's what you do at a private club. You tell them to bring some guests in, and that's why you member guests. You try to get more members by utilizing the members. Well, that's great. Caleb's awesome. The other 20 are awesome. But at the end of the day, it's going to be up to us. And if you're writing a schedule, well, then if you're not fixing it, that's on you. And if your owner-operator isn't giving you that latitude, well, then get some document or get some data from these guys, and they'll provide all the data of what you should be charging, what that comp rate is for the golf profession. I would do that first and foremost. And I think, I've been posting a little bit on social media, and I try to hit it home, right? My daughter jokes because I don't know how to filter a photo. I don't know how to turn it sideways, and I really don't understand the Instagram thing. I'm a Facebook guy, I'm sorry. I'm 55 years old. I'm on LinkedIn a little bit, which I really enjoy what Career Services does. If you guys follow anybody on LinkedIn, follow the PGA Career Services. They're doing amazing things. Get that viral. Because there's some corporate people. The David Pillsbury's of the world, they are on LinkedIn. And if they start seeing really good stories of what's happening with the PGA, maybe they start signing up for executive search instead of the other companies that are out there. But then when I see on Instagram the different responses I get, it's interesting. Because it's certainly, I don't know about you guys, but you post a picture of a turtle walking across the fairway, everybody thinks it's the greatest thing ever. But post a beginning golf program for $100 and nobody likes it. But that's what's cool about golf. I don't think we do enough of that. If I get more responses when I post things on places I've been and not just getting on some soapbox. So use your social media feeds because your members are reading those, your friends are reading those, your family's reading those. Katie always likes my Instagram posts, and I don't like her. She gets very upset. I had no idea that you could track that, but she's like, Dad, you never like my Instagram posts. All right, honey, I'm on it now. I got you. Because I've been following her, I just don't like it. So I gotta do that. But to this generation, which is not me, they look at that. So if you're going to try to attract that generation to your facility, you better be on Instagram. You better be seeing what they're posting. You better be liking it. And then when people follow you, they're following you because they want to follow you. There's certainly Facebook friends, but then there's a lot of friends on Facebook. So I just would utilize social media because whether it's Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn, you're going to get a lot of people there. I don't understand the Snapchat stuff, so I don't like it. But those three, I think we could do a lot on moving the needle of how cool our job is.
and how, it's the work-life balance. It's like, well, what is the balance of your life's work, right? I mean, when I reflect on all the lives I've changed at Augusta Ranch, I know Katie got it, but every time I go there, there's somebody hugging me because I've been there for a long time. And that all of a sudden made her think, I'm going to be a golf professional someday. Because that was the worst part of that golf pro crisis article, is that question, which we've asked in several section meetings, raise your hand if you recommend that your kid be a golf professional. And nobody raises their hand. Well, how are you going to get members if the members that are there don't want to be a member? So push that, be positive on social media. At the end of the day, the PGA is a stock, and we all own 28,000 owners of this stock, and we control the stock price. If we just push it down, everybody will never buy it. But if we push up the price of this stock, people go, I want a little piece of that. I'd like to change the world. I'd like to raise money for charity. I'd like to save the environment. All the things that we do on a daily basis. So utilize social media to the good. I know it can be bad. TikTok's terrible. That'll waste 2 hours of your day. Don't go on TikTok. It's terrible. They're burning. I'm telling you, don't. If you don't know TikTok, don't go there. It's terrible, but use social media.
So I don't know about your HR department, all that hugging going on in Augusta
Yeah.
Ranch. It's a little different to get a hug, so it's sad.
Occasional hug.
But I agree with Don, we have to start telling a different story, right? The golf professionals that talk about, I never play golf, I work all the time, I never see my family. That's just not right. And I feel sorry for everybody that's in that situation, it's a tough situation, you gotta figure out how to get out of it. We're starting to tell the story. When I go and talk to the PGA universities and talk to the students, I talk about, hey, I get it. You want a different type of career than I had. You want to work when you want to get involved in certain things. And that's great. You find the right opportunity. But you want to change lives, you can't do that if you're a gig worker. I don't think you can. But man, you let a young man or woman get involved in this golf program where they actually allow them to do those things. You allow them to get to know the membership. You allow them to teach a PGA program among competitors. You allow them to be mentors for kids, boys and girls in the cheerleading program. You allow them the time to do that. You invest in them to do that. You are going to hook somebody. If you're anybody in this world that wants to make a difference, you want to make a difference in people's lives, you can do it as a PGA professional. Don talked about Pat's service. He made a difference in people's lives. There were people that were there because he made a difference in their lives. You can't do that as a gig worker. I'm sorry, but my Uber drivers never made that much of a difference in my life. They got me from point A to point B. The mentors that I had in this business have made a difference and continue to make a difference in my life. If you can allow that opportunity to a man or a woman, a boy or girl, whoever it is, that's getting into your business, and you allow them the opportunity to get involved in people's lives that way, you mentor them in that way, they will stay in this business forever. Because if you want to make a difference in somebody's life, you can do it as a leader. I'm convinced of that. I've seen it. I've had examples of it. We can give that opportunity to people to make a difference in other people's lives. But when you hire them, you can't stick them in the bag room for 40 hours a week. You can't stick them behind the counter for 60 hours a week. You've got to make sure they have the energy to actually do that. But if you allow that opportunity to happen, I think we're going to be in a really positive place.
I would tell you, I absolutely love what I do. I love who I get to do it with. I don't think there's anything that brings people together of different backgrounds, different generations, different ethnicities, that brings people together. I think we just have this way of creating just these positive, uplifting outcomes for relationships and experiences. And nothing else can do that. And I think outside of faith and medical, there's nothing more important than what we do. We get to bring people together. We get to see families grow deeper bonds. We get to see relationships, camaraderie, friendships. There's nothing more important than, hey, relationships and getting people and families together. And I say, hey, outside of faith and medical, right, I'm not wired to do medical and I can't take church politics, right? So I love being in clubs. I love being around people. And being able to get people connected and bring them together is something that doesn't exist anywhere else, in any other industry. And it's like, hey, it's the greatest force for good, Seth Wall once said, and I'm like, hey, it really is. We need to bring people together, families get closer, friendships get closer, charities, like, hey, the amount of money that charities raise, and we didn't do a good job of that would be a game changer. Like I said, I love what I do. There's pros and there's cons, and I think in talking about, hey, the work-life balance of it, I've been spending some time trying to read about habits and become educated on habits. And I think what I've just learned is that busy isn't better. Choosing better is better. So I encourage you to try to choose better as you go back to find some work-life balance and talking about, bringing people together and deepening relationships. Would you mind closing with your story from last night from the You sure did. You sure did.
Like dining table one?
The two people at dinner.
Oh, yeah. No, well, I just think it's funny. This could really get off the rails, Elo. You have no idea.
Where's the buzzer?
I the microphone for the whole day. I was done. I was going to sit there. No, I just think it's funny that you could never walk into a restaurant and say, hey, table for two, Karen and I are going to eat. Sorry, we've only got tables of 4, but I got 2 openings. Would you like to sit with this other couple? Absolutely not. I'm not going to have dinner with another couple of people. Yeah, we do it on the golf course all the time. Party of one. You want to sit with these 3 people you don't know? I guess. I kind of want to play. Okay, that's what you have to do. It's amazing. In golf, you never do it in a restaurant. We do it on the first tee every day across the nation. 28,000 strong, 16,000 golf courses. So I think that's the story that we can tell because it is funny. We do it every day. We put people who don't know people together, and they end up becoming friends.
Well, thank you, Jim, Don, Robin. Obviously, we're incredibly blessed to have both of you here today and to see you speak and your passion and your advice and the direction that the National Board is going in is amazing. And I couldn't think of 2 better leaders. And for you both to spend some time with us and have obviously a new member of our section, I think we're going to say a lot of him and hopefully some more of you. But, like Mama's suggestion would be that if you are struggling personally, reach out to somebody to help. If your operation needs some suggestions, I'm sure, raise your hand. If you're an operator in this room and you think you're doing a good job and you want to help somebody, raise your hand, right? There's plenty of people in this room. Derek White runs Desert Well. There's 8 or 9 of you here in the room. That's a good leader right there. Thomas Sun in the back of the room has done a wonderful job doing what he's doing at his club at Arrowwood. There's a bunch of people in this room who can support you. So it's a thing that we need to change the culture, embrace the culture, work hard at retention, and start getting some people to join the ranks and be prosperous for years to come. So thank you all. All right, next up. Okay, now I'd like to call up Mr. Edwin Nicky and Caleb Hunt for their presentation on recruiting tools and resources. We didn't tee that one up for you, did we? Thank you.
Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for having us here. I appreciate it. It's hard to follow this after it leaves, but I don't know how long I hear that I went to Judge Judy, but that's one of those stories. Robin, I'm not sure if you're in my house somewhere. But I want to thank, we had 2 presidents here. We had our secretary of our association, and we had our vice president of our section here. So that was a great presentation. Hard to follow, but it's important about what we do and how we do it. And I'll tell you that they had a lot of good comments that they brought up about recruiting and about compensation services. We'll talk about that briefly. For those of you that, let me start by saying I'm Edwin Nicky with the PGA America. I've been in the golf industry for 30 plus years, served on multiple section boards, chapter boards, et cetera, et cetera. My colleague and PGA professional Caleb Hunt, who's a career specialist and career consultant, recruiting specialist. So Caleb was hired recently and is now part of our team. He's based in our West team, works very closely with Junko and I as well, actually closer, actually. And what he does for the West is he's based in Seattle, but he helps Hawaii, Northern California, Southern California, and Pacific Northwest. So he's a busy recruiter out the West, and we'll talk more about what he does and all the things he does. It's an amazing part of what we do. So thank you, Caleb, for being here.
Thanks. Now I have no speaking quotes after all of that.
You have plenty. A couple things that I want to talk about is compensation survey. So I'm not going to put anybody on the spot, but I will say that I'm working with a number of people in this room right now on compensation surveys. And the first thing I ask them is, if you haven't filled out your compensation survey, do it, and then email me back and call me and let's talk through how I can help you make more money. I can help your assistants make more money. If you're a general manager, I can help you make more money. And I can talk about compensation surveys all day, but I won't unless you want to. Anybody? Okay. All right, I tried. So back up 1 second for that slide, if you don't mind. So this slide right here is a current survey from A1, A8 combination in Southern California private clubs. And if you're in those categories and you're not making that money, let's talk. Okay? So, we'll go to the next slide.
You guys done that one all of them?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. You have to email me and talk to you. You filled out your survey yet?
I did.
Okay. 58% of our PG professionals are over the age of 50. So what that means, you look around this room, we've got a mix of old, or I should say experienced, very experienced, medium, young, exciting, up-and-comers, millennials, and it's great. But 50% of our professionals are over the age of 50. So it's a clear message that our professionals are aging up and aging out, which is, again, why recruiting is so important. I'm going to walk around because some people can't see me. Which is important because it's, for one thing, we need to backfill that. And you can raise your hand if you're a general manager, director of golf, head professional. If in the last 12 months you have had an assistant professional search that you're looking for, raise your hand if you are a general manager, head pro, director of golf, and you've been looking for an assistant professional the last 12 months. A lot of hands went up. They're going to stay up, and that's part of the problem of where we are. And as President Richardson alluded to it, Secretary Bray alluded to it, that's why we're here. That's why we're here to help and recruit in the industry to backfill all of our professionals at an over the age of 50 that are going to be retiring in the not distant future. We've got a declining number of young members and associates. That's also I'm going to show a slide in a moment. Any of those who have posted those assistant jobs, the other thing you've experienced is resume submission numbers down, correct? I had a professional call me yesterday and say, you know, I've had my head professional position, not assistant professional, my head professional position posted for 2 weeks. I've gotten 7 resumes and 1 was qualified. Not even sure if that person's going to need an interview. He goes, tell me what I'm doing wrong. I said, how long do you have? So we went into a conversation about a number of things. I won't go with that. Again, this is what I'm here for. So reach out to me, reach out to Caleb. We're here to help you, okay? And at the end of the day, my goal is to make you all better, make your staff better, make you more money. Encourage your employers who you work for to pay you more money. That's a whole other story in itself. And it's time for everybody in this room to be more selfish instead of selfless. As PGA professionals, that's what we've always done, is we're selfless. Well, I don't want to ask for a raise. You know, I'm happy working all these hours. I'm happy making money. Why? Why are you happy making less money? Raise your hand if you want to make more money. I still don't see every hand up in the room, which is crazy. But that's the goal, okay? And again, at the end of the day, as Dr. Kurt alluded to, we need more women in our business too. And I will say, I'll take a proud moment as a father. My daughter, who just turned 23, who grew up with a PGA professional as a dad and a long career in the business, decided to get out of the paralegal career and change to be a PGA professional. And she just got in the program 2 months ago. So, my daughter...
All right, perfect. Well, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jeff Dean. I'm the director of PGA, or the director of player development at PGA West Private Courses. Today we're talking about building a player development program, player development and coaching. Before I dive in deep, I just want to give a shout out and thanks to my bosses, Ben Dobbs, Matt Sampson, and Eric Timena, who allow me to flourish and do what I do in terms of player development and coaching. So I had to give them a quick shout out. So, when you're building one of these programs, as we've heard today, how difficult it is to be successful in our industry these days, you have to be better at it. So, but everything starts with passion for golf, and compassion for golfers, and that drives everything. And everything starts with a goal. So, we have to start somewhere. So, what do you do in terms of building a player development program? You don't just dive into something like that. You got to do your research. So you have to ask some simple questions that can lead you for as long as you're running your program. Who's your customer? What are their needs? How do you communicate and market your program? And of course, how do you monetize it? So these are questions that you have to ask before you dive into something that's specific. And for the purposes of this presentation, I work at PGA West Private. It's a private club, so it's kind of through a private club lens. But a lot of the things that I'm going to share today are certainly universal to anywhere at any facility. So to answer the question, who's our customer? Well, it's PGA West member and guest. What are their needs? Well, we have complex golf instruction needs across different player types. Internally, how do we communicate? Well, we communicate internally through our website, email, social media, in person. And externally, we communicate through PGA.coach. And then I've also been part of a new program, the SCPGA swing tip program that, I don't know if you see me, no one can see me, so it's all good. No, I'm just kidding. It's been a good program, and I've had actually new leads through those external means. And then lastly, how do you monetize your efforts? Well, you got to create a functional player development program that addresses all of your golfers' needs, and we've done that at PGA West. So, you got to start with creating a vision for your company. And I'll just go through these pretty quickly. At PGA West, our goal is to provide something for every member, to create an environment around golf instruction and golf activities to improve overall member experience, to enhance member retention and foster future membership sales, to create a new profit center, and to be a training ground for golf professionals, to teach golf instruction skills, event planning, management, revenue generation, and services. So these are kind of the vision where you start out with, throwing stuff against the wall, and it's your desire to make these things happen. So going forward, your vision then certainly is going to become your mission. And at PGA West, our mission now, at PGA West Private, to provide professional golf instruction and special training programs and activities for the membership, to provide activities directly related to the member player type, women, men, juniors, seniors, beginners, experts, and what we find, because we have a lot of, shall we say, experienced golfers, golfers that are returning to the game. They've raised a family, they've been working for 30 years, and now they're retired and they want to get back to the game. And it's all for the purpose of health, wellness, social interaction, and simply to enjoy the game. And lastly, to create a new paradigm for member experiences and member retention through golf, and then to advance our revenue model and profit center through instruction and special events. So you kind of start with this stuff that you throw against the wall, and these are great things to kind of found your program on. So our journey at PGA West has been about a 9-year journey for me, and at its core, it builds special relationships with new and existing members, and provides a small club experience in a big club environment. For those of you who don't know, PGA West property itself, we have 6 golf courses, 3 clubhouses, and a lot of members. We have a public and private experience. There's a lot going on. So one of our goals and objectives is to take that really big club environment and shrink it down to a small club experience so that every member can feel special in what they're receiving. So what do we have at PGA West? We have condensed it down to several things. PGA West Private, golf clinics, customized private lessons and coaching programs, junior golf program, and then special events. Our clinic program is a fun, easy atmosphere for learning. It's based on a group learning model. And since COVID, we've limited to about 6 people per clinic. We kind of left it at that because any more than that, it kind of defeats the purpose in terms of that individual attention. We've designed to create a social connection with our participants. It's a very interactive, hands-on experience and an instruction levels of all levels, beginner, intermediate, and advanced, and it's affordably priced. Here's a picture of some of our students taking a little chipping clinic. None of them chipped it in, but that's okay. Anyway, our customized private lesson and coaching program is a premium golf experience and premium pricing. It assesses each golfer's specific needs and objectives. It's based on goal setting, physical and mental capabilities. Yes, mental capabilities necessary depending upon what you want to achieve in golf. And we also utilize video analysis technology, TrackMan data, TPI screening, and a team approach. I refer all of my students to our fitness professionals in our sports center because everyone needs to have some sort of physical training along with if they want to improve their game. So this is part of our customized program. And then of course, we cover all aspects of the game, including lots of time on the golf course. I have the blessing of being at a club where we can get on the golf course and learn the game. So we spend a lot of time on the golf course in this program. This is a picture of what a member would receive. It's a cozy environment. It's specialized. It's kind of a concierge effect. We use TrackMan and just the opportunity to slow down and build their program from scratch from golfers of all ages. So this is the experience you'll get in our premier coaching environment. We have a junior golf program from ages 5 to 17. We have to do 26 clinics annually. It's fun, interactive. Our golf clinics are based on their level of development, inspired by the ADM development model. And we also have a serves and swings holiday program. It's typically a week-long program during all the major holidays. And juniors get to play golf and tennis in the same day in terms of their experience called serves and swings. Here are a couple of graphics on our junior golf clinic that we showcase in our website. And I just like to do those pretty quickly there. And then we have special golf instruction events, demo days, special vendor events, which I'll get into here in a second. Range week, which is a seasoning opening, orientation, and then guest speakers. So obviously, a lot of you will do demo days throughout the year. We host all the very major manufacturers, and they come out, and we feel that having the right product in your hand is really important for our members. And so we have do a lot of demo days at our facility. We have special vendor events. We did a Titleist Wedge-education event. Oops, pardon me. And we members get a chance to come out and try different grinds and bounces through different turf conditions and sand, and they actually get to understand what bounce is all about, that kind of stuff. And then they also, of course, get a chance to buy new wedges. And then every season we have kind of a back-to-school range, which we call a range week. So members will come out for a complimentary session of just for a week long, and they'll experience what we're going to be doing new in our program, as well as just it's kind of back to school, just getting members more acclimated to playing again. And then lastly, we do guest speakers. We had Rick Sessinghouse out this year, and you can scroll through a few of those pictures. And he did a one-day clinic on the mental game. And so he spent a day with us, and the members really enjoyed this time with him, and to be connected with someone who's directly related to a major winner on tour was really something that our members enjoyed. It was a fun day on the range and then on the golf course. So that's kind of what we do at PGA West. There's things that we do. We have to figure out how to create more than just one level of opportunities. It's many things that we offer. But in order to do that, you have to have some foundational pillars to make it run. So I'll briefly go through these. I know time is of the essence. But in our program, I had to create a few foundational pillars. We had to establish standards and guidelines, a method of effective communication, marketing and promotions, training and development of our teachers, which is really a big deal to me. And then, of course, we had to develop and operate a budget. Now, we have standard SOPs, which I definitely am not going to go into, but you have to have some place to base your program on. Duties of golf instructors, cancellation policies, all that boring stuff that none of us really want to talk about. but as necessary to run a program of this nature. How do we do communications? We have such a huge facility at PGA West. PGA West's website is a huge means of communication. We have a dedicated instruction page, and members can go on that instruction page and look at whatever is available to them. Put one more screen there. And the calendar is a digital calendar of whatever is available golf clinic-wise or whatever's going on in terms of golf. Members can go on that, click through, and find out what's available. So that's one of our means of communication. We also send out digital calendars to our members for what's available in any given month. We also go through the social media is a big thing. We use all forms. In particular, I use a YouTube channel every week, sending out a golf tip to our members. You can click do one more. There's yours truly. Anyway, YouTube, and we find that social media is a really big deal. Going forward, we're using Appointment Plus as our means to communicate through our private lesson program. So those are means of communication. Marketing and promotions is a big deal. Our main goal was to develop consistent in-brand messaging across all marketing platforms. And one of the things that we really use to drive what we do is a member survey every year. It's really important that we get their feedback as to what are we doing right or wrong and adjustments that we can make. Our basic promotions and marketing is through our email blasts. I heard earlier that sending out emails is really important. I'm more rather a text guy, but emails are a big thing in our club. And then we also, for marketing and promotions, we have an instruction calendar with Golf Genius software, which I'll just dive into for a moment. A member can go on our golf calendar, they'll click through, and they'll be able to sign up, for example. I'll go one more screen. Say they'll be able to sign up for the 101 Golf 101 100 yards and in clinic. They'll register for that, and then at the end of all of that, we can track who signed up. Did it work well? Did it not? And we have their information. We send out post-clinic emails and so forth. So it's a way that we can track data to be able to make adjustments. So it's very important, I think, in terms of promoting a program to be able to track that. And then one of the things dear to my heart is training our professionals. It's really important to have a team of professionals that are ready to teach and to be prepared for all the changes in our industry. I will definitely not go into too much detail here other than as the director of this program, I had to create it from scratch, so I actually wrote my own job description, which is really kind of fun. I get to do whatever I want to do. Anyway, just kidding. And for the assistance professionals as well, I have what's called 5 keys to successful teaching performance. We have an ongoing learning and development for our teachers, which is kind of an ongoing homework assignment that I give to them. And then every biannually, I do a review with all of our teachers, so they know kind of what page they're on. And I haven't fired any of them yet, so anyway, just kidding. Okay, and then the last and most boring aspect of this is that in anything, you have to have an operating budget. So all that stuff that I talked about, you have to balance it out. So with all this, we had to create a budget to be able to put money into. I meet with my director of golf and the general manager so that we can plan this out every year. It's pretty important. Even if you're doing this as an individual, running your own personal thing, program, I think that it's really necessary to make sure that you're running and you have your own budget. It's important to keep the books balanced. So, in summary, PGA West basically provides, or we try to provide something for every golfer. And we do, again, I'm not going to go over this, I can go one more screen. We provide clinics, customized lessons, junior golf programs, and special events. And we are foundational pillars of guidelines, standard guidelines, communication, marketing, training, development, and budget. So you can see this is pretty involved. And at a facility such as ours, it's necessary to do all this. But in the end, it kind of brings together over 2,000 members in a way that they can shrink it down into a small golf lesson experience. So no matter what you do, you have to let passion for golf and compassion for golfers run your efforts. So I hope that some of these things that I pointed out, that what we do here, you can go one more. With some of the things that I pointed out here today could help you in your operation, and what we do at PGA West. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me at gdean@pgawest.com if you're interested in learning more about what we do at PGA West or just player development in general. So thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Apparently Anthony's giving the next speech. Next up, we are going to kind of kick this into third gear here a little bit now. Blake Jurgis is going to kind of talk about the same themes of player development, work-life balance, and I think you'll enjoy what he has to share.
Good afternoon, I guess now. I'm really excited to be in front of you with this idea of this work-life balance. I know it's a very trendy word right now, but for me, being a 31-year-old PGA member for the last 5 years, I've got 2 little girls I've married for 6 years. I've been in the position at 22, 21, 23 in this industry, working 60, 80 hours a week, and we all have done that in our position because we love what we do. We have a huge passion for this industry. We love the game of golf, and all of us can probably agree that we can be at the facility all day long. But as we get older, we have a family, we have other interests that we don't have, that I knew something had to change. So I want to share with you a little video with myself and the partnership between RGX and the PGA, and I'll kind of share afterwards the vision that we see for the future of our industry. I'm Blake Jurgis, PGA Certified Member, Director of Player Development at Cody Cosmic Golf and Ride Club. I was the first one to get here, working so many hours, the last one to leave. Something had to change. Kind of when I first started here, I would take in all the clients I could. I did the 1-hour lessons. I feel like I was just working so many hours. I was saying yes to everybody. I wanted to be with my family. I have 2 little girls, and they are so important to me. The concept I learned.
Everybody's got to get off Facebook. That's the problem.
As a modern PGA coach was a starting point to my success. Kind of transitioned myself into the group coaching model and
Too many Snapchats.
just started playing golf with them. And I was able to teach them on the golf course, having this community.
Oh.
Can I still pause it for a sec? So basically, what I'll kind of explain a little bit about this video in a way is the PGA. I'm actually going through this program called RGX. If anybody knows Will Robbins, Will has kind of mastered the profession when it comes into the PGA professional, one, making more money and saving more time and having somewhat of a balanced life. What I do at Cody Casa is I do a lot of on-course coaching, I do a lot of group coaching, and the idea behind that is I get results from my players, not based on the number of hours I coach, but I basically sell results. The idea behind that is if players would want to get a driver lesson, which many of you guys may experience in the past, is that really the issue? Who really knows? Take them on the golf course and find out. But the idea is that we don't work on, I specifically don't work on technique as much. I work on getting players lower scores, and kind of within my programs, I've seen some amazing results, not just from a facility standpoint, but from a player standpoint. One, not working on technique, but getting results from players that are shooting 140 all the way down to 88 in 3 months. I have players dropping from a 10 handicap down to a 5 handicap in 3 months, and basically getting that knowledge, and that's only doing this on-course coaching. If you guys have seen Will's presentation at the Player Development Summit that we had recently, it was really cool to see if you can actually just kind of think about yourselves right now. If you have 4 players that you may coach, that you may have to be friends with, whatever it may be, if you think about charging them $100 an hour right now, and you say, hey, I want to go on the golf course with you, we're going to do a private lesson this week, we're just going to go out and play, would you be interested? And I guarantee you right now, if you actually send a text message to every one of those people that you encounter with, they will say yes. If you already played on the summit, we had actually people taking out their cell phones and saying, hey, will you play on the golf course with me? We're going to play with other people, we'll charge an hour lesson. What do you think? And every one of them got the same result. Yes, I'm in. And the idea behind it's somewhat too good to be true. It's not. This is the reality. This is the way the future is going with the PGA Modern Coach. So I'm privileged enough to be working with Will and working with the section from an RGX standpoint and kind of launching a pilot program for the SCPGA. The idea behind, for me, I'll give you my results. I save about 5 to 10 hours a week. I work about 45 hours a week. I work 5 days a week. Spend more time with my kids. I'm actually here to see with you today, which I would never do in the past. I'm just being honest. I have 2 little girls, and I would never come to these annual meetings or the section meetings because I felt guilty for being here away from my family. I'm here before you saying that I've increased my revenue from like a 60% raise from when I started, before I started with Code Casa, and now going to Code Casa, so I've made way more money. My wife works 1 day a week. I'm living in Orange County, which if you're a professional, you would think that you can't have a life in this industry. I can guarantee you, through like what I've learned in my experience, that you can have a life in this industry and be able to have a great life as well. Be able to have more time with your family, more time with your, if you have kids here, or more time with your hobbies that you like to do. I've played more golf this year. I've played, 14 rounds of 18 holes, and I've played 12 9-hole rounds in the last 5 months. More golf than I've ever played, and I'm making more money. So, if you guys are anybody interested, the SCPGA is going to be announcing with inviting any member that is looking to, one, save more time, make more money, and become a better PGA professional, because this is the route we're going to go as far as how our industry is going to look like through the PGA.coach, the regained certification. Obviously, with Allison being here and having those videos sent out, we have never gone to the PGA Coach app. There is so much education on there, and if you want to become a better coach, there's 1,300 members, 1,500 members, and only 200 are ADM certified. That is a large number of people that are not ADM certified. And I'm asking why. It's a free education, and if you want to change your life, that is a way to do it. Can I just raise a hand of who's ADM certified in this room? So good amount. If you did not raise your hand, I recommend to you, this is no better time during COVID and to change your life. There's no better time to do it right now. You're costing yourself time and money for you not going through that education. If you're interested in doing something that I've been privileged to do and to change my life even more so, I would love for you guys to invite you to jump in with through this pilot program we have for the Southern California section. And the idea is to be launching for PGA National in the next few years. So if you have more information, reach out to rgxcoach.com. You can text me as well. My number is 714-343-2233. Is that good? Perfect. Next time then, I guess. But I want to thank you so much for allowing me to hang out with you, and looking forward to golf this afternoon.
All right, so it is a pretty cool video. It's worth looking at. Apologies for the technical difficulties. We'll send it out to everybody, so you'll have access to it. Definitely think worth a few minutes to take a look at. And if you haven't spent any time with what Will Robbins is doing, I think it's kind of a disservice to you and to your staff. It's worth spending a couple minutes to become educated. And I know Blake is very open to help anybody in any way. So, last presentation, the guru of all things government regulations, Craig Kessler, is going to give us, and he's the last thing between us and golf. He's assured us to keep us excited for golf, but Craig's just going to talk about what's going on in the California government world. So, thank you, Craig.
This is Robin's worst nightmare. You're way behind on the meeting and I'm speaking last. And I may shock you today, but not because of you, don't take this the wrong way, but Nikki Gash has been texting me furiously. You know we're way behind. For those who don't know, she is the first woman president of the Southern California Golf Association. So she's my boss's boss. So relax, I'm going to keep it really fast. Very briefly, I'm going to ask a question that I asked a couple of weeks ago at a high-level chapter meeting of the Golf Course Superintendents Association. Let's see if this crowd does a little bit better. How many persons in this room have heard of Assembly Bill 1910? Congratulations, you're way ahead of the superintendents. For those of you who don't know, on May 19th, it died. I'm going to quote, for those of you who are voracious newspaper readers and online, may remember that you live in the Los Angeles area, the dean of all political reporters, Rick Orloff, of the LA Daily News. And I knew him very, very well, and I spent some time with him. And oftentimes he would blurt into somebody's conversation. He would just yell out, "It's never over." And of course that would prompt somebody to stop talking, even sometimes me, and ask, well, what do you mean? He stated, it doesn't matter in politics or in law or in legislative advocacy, whether you just suffered your greatest victory, greatest defeat, excuse me, or enjoyed your greatest victory. The sun comes up tomorrow, and the challenges and the opportunities are simply different, depending upon whether you had the victory or the defeat or all those things in between. So let me just simply say that the golf industry did a fantastic job coming together. Certainly this organization, my own Southern California Golf Association, national organizations. To my shock as a lifelong amateur, the United States Golf Association, Mike Long, weighed in on a state bill for the first time in the history of that organization, representing a pivot that they're making in addition to the PGA of America into the whole realm of advocacy and I think greater community engagement. And that's going to be better for the game. Here in brief, for those, since you raised so many hands, you know that this, I called this bill, I nicknamed it the Public Golf Endangerment Act. It stated that it was the most onerous bill targeted at the golf industry in my time. And as you notice from taking a good look at me, and the correct phrase is not boomer or over 60, it's late middle age. And I get a smile on my face from all of those who look a little bit like me. We're late middle age. But I've been around a long time. And this was the first really direct shot at the golf industry by a bill. I have to add that the author was tenacious. She is tenacious. She floated that bill 3 times, and I took to saying we needed to strike it out 3 times. And we did strike it out 3 times. Now the challenges are this. The issues that animated that bill are incumbents. We cannot get over them. We have a lot of challenges that we can overcome, but the one that is very difficult to overcome is that we use anywhere from 120 to 180 acres that are in one spot, and it tends to, in this environment, uses a lot of water and is green, and that upsets a lot of people. Up until this bill that would have tracked public golf courses into housing, our challenge has always been from other recreational communities. Now our challenges are for commercial and residential development. So keep in mind, it doesn't matter what demographic you hold in California. It doesn't matter whether you go to a rural area or an urban area, whether you go to a district, to an area that voted for Donald Trump or Joe Biden. It doesn't matter. Housing is the #1 issue, and homelessness is not far behind. And that's what we were up against. Lawmakers who wanted to do something about housing, and an author of the bill, he kept amending this. Little fact that you'll never see the light of day. Had that bill not died on May 19th, it would have only moved forward to the state Senate, substantially amended. And I know what those amendments were because I saw them in advance. and it would have severely curtailed the bill. That's my way of saying that we always hedge our bets in this particular arena. And even though we worked to defeat it, we never came off the opposition. At the same time, we worked with someone, I won't go into the details of how that happened with the local government committee, in case we lost. But I said that it would move forward to the Senate, where it would not have had a good reception. But at least if worst came to worst, the worst case scenario just kept getting better and better and better and better. So we did ourselves very well, and that is also one of the great opportunities that we have going forward. I think everyone in this room knows, and we've heard a lot here today, our game is ridiculed, caricatured, there's a lot of misinformation about it. But the effort that we made by focusing on those things about golf that bring value to every community in which a golf course is located. Doesn't matter whether it's municipally owned, daily fee golf course, or private club. It brings value to the community, it brings value to the environment, it brings to those things called quality of life. So by pointing out, for example, that all 960 golf courses in the state of California cover less acreage than the amount of private land within the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy that is protected permanently from development. Our acreage is less, that's if you took every golf course in the state. Kind of puts things in perspective, that there's a lot more to living to good quality lives than simply concrete jungles and bottom lines and so forth. And that's why, contrary to what our industry does so many other places, including nationally, and I'm not sure, whether they're tired of hearing from you about it, they're going to continue to hear about it. Our best arguments are not the financial arguments. Keep in mind, the golf course is not a very high and best use of property. It doesn't generate taxes. I'm probably paid to make sure it doesn't. And it doesn't generate the kind of multiplier economic activity that anything commercial or anything residential would. However, that's not what public policy is made on. Developing the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy would certainly alleviate a housing problem in the city I live in, Los Angeles, but it's a stupid idea. And ultimately, I think one of the things that we were able to do by coalescing as an organization, coming together and fighting for what we believe in as golf, was convince a lot of persons and a lot of media that had never been convinced before to actually make our arguments for us. I know at the end of the game, a lot of persons were a little bit upset that the Los Angeles Times ran an editorial on the subject, a big editorial on the subject. I think it was in the Sunday paper. That editorial did not endorse the bill. That editorial did not actually suggest it was a good bill. In fact, it was part of it saying it's a rather bad idea. The only thing it suggested was we're in so much trouble on the housing problem that even a bad idea like this deserves a conversation. It didn't say it deserved to be passed as a law. But in that editorial, if you got through it, you realize that every argument that every golf organization made in both their oral and written testimony to the California legislature, they talked about our game being affordable, accessible, diverse, all the things that we struggled so mightily to get out of. So in an odd sort of way, one of the great opportunities coming out is that our staff and public opinion has never been better. And because we convinced them, you're not aware of the inside. But one of the reasons I had great confidence at the end that it would fail in that is because we had the support of similarly situated assembly districts right in and around the office. These were heavily Democratic, urban minority districts. So keeping that in mind, he's coming close to this. I feel my pocket buzzing, and I'm sure Nikki is texting me. You want to get on the stage, give up that microphone. So just keep this in mind. We should never be shy about trumpeting our virtues, and our key virtues are not necessarily, the key virtue is that we bring value to every community in which you ply your trade as professionals and others ply the business of golf in communities. I was going to talk about water as well, but we'll save that for another meeting.
Yeah, I don't think we ever give Craig enough credit. I like to give him a hard time because he gets passionate about issues, but thank you for all that you do. And appreciate you checking your phone right away to see how many text messages you have. But thank you for all that Craig does. And water will be an issue this summer, so be ready for that. All right, let's get rolling here. Any calls for old business? Second call for old business. Final call for old business. All right, new business. Any calls for new business? Randy Chang.
Thanks, real quickly. I want to announce the lineup. We just literally solidified it last night. The lineup for the CES, the California Teaching and Coaching Summit. That's going to be at Virginia Country Club this year. Please put that in your save the date right now. October 17th and 18th. Again, at Virginia, Jamie is going to be our, by the way, our National Teacher of the Year, which is the first time that we've had a teacher coach win that award for our section. So it's going to be a great event. Quick lineup. So we're going to have Cameron McCormick, Jordan Speeds, coach, Corey Lumberg, who is an upcoming young teacher, Stephen Sweeney, a master cutting instructor, teaches Shane Lowry, Bucky Neiman, Luke Bliss, Patrick Murphy, who is a kind of motivational mental coach. We have Dave Phillips of TPI, who's going to do the fitness side of it, Susie Whaley, our honorary president, Randy Smith, who is Scotty Scheffler's coach, and with a bunch of others. Our keynotes that we solidified will be Jim Richardson, our president, will be talking about the modern coach, and keynote Mark O'Meara. So we hope to see everybody there. It's going to be super big and better and bigger than last year.
Another fantastic lineup. Thank you for sharing.
I got a good buddy down at Goat Hill, John Ashby. Goat Hill is going to be turned into a soccer facility. About 5 years ago, it's turned into a great facility. People playing golf, got kids in the game in Oceanside. There's another place right now, I don't know if you guys were, Weddington Golf Club. It's in Valley. It's where kids learn how to play golf. There's no PGA member to play, but they're in high school. Their Harvard Westlake wants to turn it into a multi-use facility. This is where in this room needs to get involved. We need to stop this. We need to save Weddington Golf Club. Because it's a place where these kids are going to learn. It turns into multi-use. There's nowhere for these kids to practice. They have to coach a golf team and you go over there. There's probably 6 or 7 teams over there that will not have a place to play. So I think we need to do something as a section. Craig, obviously, is involved in matters like this. Everyone in this room needs to be aware of Weddington Golf Club and what we can do to save it. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Any other calls for new business? Final calls for new business. Max Despain knows that's his cue. Your final calls for new business. All right, Max, you are up. Talk about golf for the day. Let's welcome up our tournament competitions director.
Hello everybody, good to see y'all today. It's time to play some golf. A couple things for you to make you aware of out there today. Once you exit here, you will see the golf cart staged over by the practice putting green and the driving range. On the golf cart, you'll see the notice to players, your hole location, and your scorecard. A couple things on the notice to player to bring to your attention. Today's format is scramble. You'll get a 1 club length when you're playing the ball from the general area. And then on a green, you'll get 1 putter head length. Also, you cannot change conditions. So if you're in the rough, you must stay in the rough. For the tees, we'll play blue tees for the men, gold tees for the women, and men 70 years of age and older. We also have a team skins game. If you want to get in skins, it's $40. You can demo at SCPGA for the team skins. Also, I just sent you a text with your starting hole so that you have that information as well, so you can check your phone for that. And a special thank you to all our partners that are supporting today's event and the $15,000 purse. So special thanks to them, and also a big thank you to Classic Club for hosting us today. So this time, we have lunch for you as well in the golf cart out there. So we'll give you about 45 minutes from right now. So we'll have ball in the air at 12:05. So you can get your lunch, throw a few putts, get a few balls, and go out and play some golf. Thanks to everyone for being here. Have a good day.